Hello, everybody out there in Chatland. Hi, Colton. How's your head?
Sorry, I'm good. That's what happens when I lean too far over. I have a bad habit of hunching when I'm at my desk. So let me raise it a little so I don't have to. So it's not as
I got a
bad.
habit of baby in this arm. I swear to God. This whole break I was dying because I was trying to type. I added another slide during the break to
Oh,
this grammar session. We are in session 31. It's the 31st session, but it's covering lesson 27 of Seow's grammar. How's it going out there in Chatland? My mama's back again. And there's Michael saying howdy, and you're saying hi to them. So I hope
indeed.
everybody's doing well. And we are going to jump right into this beast of a chapter. Actually, some of the things we've covered until now have been more labor intensive. They're
Mm-hmm.
kind of lightening up at this point because they figure you kind of understand what's going on. And now you can just look at a paradigm and say, oh, okay. So before we get started, I wanted to show this thing that I added, that I have in the image at the beginning of every lesson that you might not have noticed. This verse on the right side of the screen is actually from, I think it's from Exodus. I don't know if you've noticed it, but it says, Rav ata ushma et kol asher yomar Adonai Eloheinu. Now, the original context is the people of Israel being afraid of God when they were at Mount Sinai.
Yeah.
And so instead of them going up and hearing God's voice directly, they told Moses, you draw near, Rav ata ushma, and hear. You draw near and hear everything that the Lord our God will say.
And then you can tell
And
us, and it'll be okay.
yeah, yeah. The reason I added it to this slide whenever I first started this your journey into biblical Hebrew in the show lessons is because I thought of this verse not in terms of telling Moses go up and be our mediator, but me telling students that by learning Hebrew you are able to hear. So you are able to draw near to the Torah and hear all the words that God has to say in Hebrew. So you draw near. Krav ata ushma. Draw near and hear. And so that was my goal with this. I know there's a lot of grammar and a lot of tricky, confusing things that come along the way, but the goal is always to draw you nearer to the text and give you more direct access to it. So I hope that the course of these sessions has been useful through the fog and confusion, and it's something that you've enjoyed. Again, these are our Patreon buddies and Chaverim and Chaverot. This is what Toda Rabba lechol Chaverenu v'Chavrotenu. I hope that you are all well and that it's not a burden for you to be helpful to me and to lighten my load. I appreciate it. When we're looking at our candelabrum, our menorah of Binyanim, we are now approaching the middle stand of the candelabrum with the Hitpael. The Hitpael is by itself in the middle because it doesn't correspond to any of the passive tenses. It itself represents a kind of middle voice where the subject is involved in the activity. The best example that I could give is probably a word that we don't use in the Bible, but is used every day in modern Hebrew, and that is the word lekaleach. Kaleach. Kileach in the PL means bathe, like you bathe your children or you bathe an old person that you take care of. You bathe someone and you wash them and you make sure that they're clean. To say that I take a bath or I clean myself, I take a shower, you say, Ani mitkaleach. Ani mitkaleach. Mitkaleach is the hitpael. And it's this idea where the subject is doing the action, but is also involved in it, kind of like a reciprocal action. So we're going to look at a few examples. And it's not always the case, but this is a generic way of picturing it. The Binyan is called Hitpael because of the vowel structure. You can see on the root that we are always using, that Pei Ayin Lamed, there's a hit prefix that in the present or the participle is replaced by mem, mit instead of hit, but there's always that closed prefix on the beginning, and then the middle radical is doubled. You can't see it with the ayin, but you can see it with the tet in hitkatel. Hitkatel. Along with the hitpael, we're going to also take a look at the single verb that exists in Hebrew in this special binyan called Hishtafel. Hishtafel. You can see that this has the hit prefix that's been metaphesized with a shin that is also part of the binyan structure. Okay, so hishta and the first radical of the root closes that syllable, hishtaf, and then the next two root letters pair off together. So if we have katal as our root, it's hishtaktel. We have one root in Hebrew that uses this, and this is chava, that we will look at. It means to bow down or to prostrate.
No.
Prostrate.
Well, can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
Well, I think that is correct, and that it's from chava. There are some people who think that it is connected to, and this is why it's taught with the Hitpael, is that it's connected to shecha. With a hey, yod hey at the end. Because that means to bow down, and they have similar meanings.
Does it?
Yeah, shecha, shin chet hey is to bow down, and they think it's they think it's a metaphesized.
Can you
verb.
pull up an example of that? Shecha.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I looked it up just to make sure.
With a sin instead of a sheen, this means swim.
Yeah. So the root, they're saying the root is used at least in the call in Isaiah 51:23.
Isaiah 51:23, and it means bow down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, this is how it was thought of for a long time. But nowadays, because of Ugaritic, right? Since we have a lot more sources for comparative Semitics, Ugaritic actually exhibits this Hishtafel with other verbs and not just with this verb. And so we're pretty well convinced now that it's a separate binyan.
Yeah. And
but
that's why
there are people that argue both ways.
Yeah. That is the older, the shecha connection, the metaphesized shecha. Hishtafel is an example of metath, which we'll talk about, I'm sure.
So metathesis is an important word in the Hitpael. Metathesis from Greek, thesis, pudding, and meta is across, because you cross them. You put them cross to each other.
Yeah, but that's all. I think that was the older argument before we had the Ugaritic comparative Ugaritic stuff to really look at.
Yeah, and that's how the root appears in BDB, for example.
Yeah,
brown driver bricks.
It could be one of those things with like Yanuk and Nuach, where they could be derived from each other too in different times. That's why we have shecha.
And I would say also the word, the Hiphil word for hechel, he started, that took on the noun form tchila, beginning, start, and then turned into a new root for a Hiphil verb hitchil through the Mishneh Hebrew. So things are borrowed all the time and changed, but we'll learn it the way that it's now presented in modern grammars. So Samech Gimel Resh is a nice strong root in Hebrew. It appears basically in all of the main binyanim in different times. So I wrote, throughout the generation of the Hebrew language, the root Samech Gimel Resh has appeared in all of the standard binyanim, but with special meanings. Okay, so we think of this word in the kal as to close or to shut. In the Bible, it appears in the kal, nifal, piel, and pual. In modern Hebrew, we see it also in hifil, hufal, and hitpael. So in the kal, this root would appear as, you can fill in the blanks. Let's see if we got what's going on here. You can help.
Sure. Sure. Sagar.
Yes. Sagar. Okay, sagar means he shut or he closed. Hu sagar et hadelet, he closed the door. Sagar. Oh, I was going to answer.
Yeah,
What's
nisgar.
the nifal?
Nisgar.
Nifal is nisgar. Nisgar, it would say. Hadelet, nisgera. The delet was closed or it closed up. Often passive, right? The passive of the kal.
Siger.
Halon nisgar. The window was closed. Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Piel, you said sigera. Sigera. This is right. We do not use this in modern Hebrew. The piel is not used in modern Hebrew, but it is used in the Bible. Siger, and the passive of siger is pual, which is
Sugar.
sugar. So this root in the Bible doesn't mean anything about closing. This in the piel and pual. This is the words for handing over or betraying. He handed him over. He betrayed him to another leader. And sugal is the passive. He was handed over. For that, in modern Hebrew, we use the hifil and the hufal. Okay, so hifil would be
Hisgir.
hisgir, and hufal,
Husgar.
husgar, and the alternative, instead of hufal, you could have hofal, hosgar. Hosgar and husgar mean the exact same thing. There's no difference. And finally, the Hitpael is used in modern Hebrew that is not in the Bible. What would that form be?
Histager.
Histager, yes, because when you have the hit that's followed with a root letter that is a sibilant, these two change places, and this is called metathesis. That's where they change places. So histager, okay, so we said that this corresponds to this in modern Hebrew, and this to this. So this is he betrayed or handed over, and this is he was betrayed or handed over. This one means he closed himself up, like during COVID. During COVID, we went through several experiences of what was called seger. Seger is the way that you say the shutdown, like the lockdown. Seger means everything's closed, closure. And so histager means you closed yourself up, like in your house. Histager babayit ve'serev latzet. He closed himself up at home. He shut himself in and refused to come out. Histager. These are obviously modern concepts. The biblical lines up here for betrayal, and then this is the root that just means close or was closed. Okay, so this should illustrate something of what goes on between the various binyanim. It must be stressed that not all roots appear in all binyanim. There is a root that might appear in only one binyan, and there's a root that might appear in all 7. There's a root that might appear even in an 8th or 9th binyan, because there are special stems that don't fit into these 7. We want to look at some of the hitpael verbs.
I need to leave for just a second. I'll be right back.
You come back. So this verb, the verb bet, resh, kaf, the root, is related to a couple of things. First of all, it's the root for a knee, like your knee is called your berech. Your knees are your birkaim. Birkaim is the plural of berech, the dual, because you have 2 of them in your body. So also the word for bless, like bless, God blesses somebody, is in the piel. Levarech. Levarech is to bless. If someone is blessed, we call him mevorach in the pual as an adjective. Now, there are a couple of statements about Abraham and his blessing to the world. And it says that all the nations of the earth will be blessed by you or in you. That is a benifal, nivrechu. Nivrechu, they will be blessed. In the Hitpael, this means to be blessed or to bless yourself or to consider yourself fortunate or blessed. And this is hitbarech. Hitpael becomes hitbarech. Notice the resh rejects dagesh, and there's compensatory lengthening. Hitbarech. Hitbarachti, hitbarachta, hitbaracht, hitbarcha, hitbarachnu, hitbarachtem, hitbarachten, hitbarchu. Okay? There's not much special about this. If you come with us until now, this really should just be very easy to recognize because of the hit prefix, and the internal structure is very, very, very much like the PL. And there is a connection between the Hitpael and the PL, okay, in structure, and kind of in with the idea of raising. What do they say, Colton? If you're here, no, you're not. Let's see. When you add an agent, it's not polarity. Only Josh Bowen were here because he talks about it. Recently, he's been talking about it, but it's when you add an agent. Well, here you take agents away in the Hitpael, basically, and it's you with yourself. So I'm not going to go over all the forms, but you get the idea. The next one is lehitztayed. Okay, here the root is tzadi yod dalet, which, if you're aware, is from the noun tzayid, tzayid meaning provisions. Provisions. So lehitztayed is to equip yourself or to take provisions. The tzadi is one of the sibilants, and the taf and the tzadi change places. With tzadi and with zayin, the taf becomes a dalet. Oh, sorry. No, with zayin it becomes a dalet. Sorry, taf becomes dalet. Okay, and with tzadi it becomes tet. Sorry about that. Lehitztayed. Lehitztayen, to excel. Okay, all right, so let's look at it. Hitztayed, he equipped himself. Notice that he did it, and it was himself. He equipped himself. He took provisions for himself. That's the idea of the Hitpael, or Hitpael. Some important verbs that we use in modern Hebrew all the time. When I learned modern Hebrew is whenever I really started to feel the Hitpael, because when I studied biblical Hebrew, it was just like this. I used this textbook. It was at the end of the year. I was already brain drained, like it had memorizing all the paradigms killed me. And so what's the point of this Hitpael? I don't know. But once I learned modern Hebrew, I learned lit kaleach, to take a shower, lit kasher, to call, lit chaver, to become friends, lit yaded, another word for becoming friends, lit orer, to wake up. There are many, many, many verbs in the Hitpael and Hitpoel that you will learn along the way. But right now, you just need to catch the idea that if there's a hit or hits or his on the beginning of the word, then it's probably a word in this binyan. Okay. Lehizdaken is from zaken. Zaken means old. Zaken. So lehizdaken means to become old, grow old. So it's the hit before the zayin. Before the zayin, it becomes dalet. Okay. Lehizdaken. Okay. So who hizdaken? He became old. Ani hizdakanti. I became old. Ata hizdakanta. Nachnu nizdaken. We will become old. Okay. It's kind of weird to tell people become old. So the imperative is kind of stupid to even have for this verb. You don't need it. But you can say ani mizdaken. I'm getting old. Any questions so far? I think this one is actually easier to cover than what we've gone over recently with the Nifal and other things. The Hitpael is pretty easy to recognize. Notice also that there's no infinitive absolute for the Hitpael. So when we're looking at a synopsis, we've got look how easy it is. Hitkadesh, Yitkadesh, Yitkadesh, Hitkadesh, Hitkadesh, Mitkadesh. They all sound the same, so that makes it really easy. The jussive, there is no exception. The jussive looks exactly like the imperfect. The perfect looks like the imperative, and the imperative looks like the infinitive construct, except this will have a lamed most of the time. And the participle starts with mem. How easy is that? The Hitpael is easier than most of the Binyanim. The only weird thing about the Hitpael is the metathesis. When you have a shin, it's going to be shin, sin, tzadi, samech, and zayin. When you have any of the sibilants, the sibilant letters, they will metathesis with the tav, and the tav can change to dalet if it's vocalized, or to tet if it's emphatic, like the sin, because tet is the emphatic version of t. Emphatic makes better sense when you study Arabic, but it used to exist in Hebrew. So if shamal is our root, then we could have hishtamer, yishtamer, yishtamer, hishtamer, yishtamer, mishtamer. I hope everybody thinks that's easy, because to me, I don't think it gets any easier than that. I think Colton is good for everybody's Hebrew, by the way. And he is learning modern Hebrew now. And I think he's going to be a master of it. I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so barach, again, yitbarech, 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 hitbarech, and mitbarech. And from that, from each verb in the stem, you can break down all of the person, number, and gender. So in the perfect, you could say like hishtamer, you could say hishtamarti, hishtamarta, hishtamart, hishtamer, hishtamra, hishtamarno, hishtamartem, hishtamarten, and hishtamru. We can do the future. Eshtamer, tishtamer, tishtamri. This is not a verb that I've ever used in my life, but it's definitely a possibility. The next verb, the root is for uncovering. Okay, it's also related to galut, to diaspora. What do you call galut Bavel? Babylonian captivity. That's the word, captivity. So liglot can mean to go into captivity, lahaglot to go into captivity, but both of them can also mean to uncover. So this word, hitgala, means it was revealed. This is the word, hitgalut is the word for the revelation, like the book of Revelation, hitgalut. So hitgala, it was revealed. Yitgale, notice again the a in the past and the a in the future. Yitgale, it will be revealed. In this case, because there's third hay, we go through apocope, and the hay is lost. So yitgal, yitgal, let it be revealed. Yitgal. This is the word that we should start using on banners and put them on the walls for the Epstein files. Yitgal, let it be revealed. Yitgal, it's just Hitgale, be revealed. This sounds like a RuPaul. Reveal yourself. Hitgale. Right? Hitgalot. Hitgalot is the infinitive construct, to be revealed, and mitgale, being revealed. So the most difference is in this third hay, third yod root, where it actually does have some differences among the forms. Most of the forms in the Hitpael are consistent through the different tenses, or whatever you call them. Colton, any comments? Welcome back.
No, not at this point. Looks good.
Brilliant. Did you know that Hitgalut is the word for the revelation?
No, but I I'm not surprised, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Finally, we have the root that Colton and I were talking about a minute ago. This, what I would say, is Chet Vav Yod, or Chet Vav Hey.
Again, I
going
agree
into
with that.
Hishtafel.
I do agree
Mhm.
with that. I'm just pointing out the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the past tense is Hishtachava. This is the perfect. Katal. Hishtachava. Hishtachava. The imperfect is Yishtachave. Yishtachave. He will bow down. He will prostrate himself. Colton, I know we haven't seen Elena in a long time, right? She
Mhm.
dropped Patreon this week, and I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe she's gone somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know
We
either.
should reach out to her. Anyway, Yishtachave. I want to skip the Joseph and come back to it in a second, and I'll explain what's going on there because it's a little bit funky. Hishtachave is the imperative, where Hishtachava is the past. Hishtachave, bow down. Hishtachavot is the infinitive construct. Leishtachavot, to bow down. Mishtachave, he bows down. Ani mishtachave. Okay, so what's going on with the Yishtachu as a Joseph? I think we've talked about it before, but let's look at it. Yishtachave. This is the future. Yishtachave. Okay, so this vowel is not a real vowel, that is an echo vowel. It would naturally just be a shva, because a shva is shva. If we have apocryphy so that the hey drops off, we are left with yishtach v, with the vav hanging out there on its own. Hebrew doesn't like consonant clusters, and so what it does is it turns that final consonant, the semiconsonant, into a vowel, and it retains the stress on this syllable here, yishtachu. Yishtachu, this is let him bow down. We see this mostly in the vav consecutive. Vayishtachu. Vayishtachu, he bowed down. This is not plural, this is singular. The plural would be Vayishtachavu. Vayishtachavu. They bowed down. So Vayishtachu, he bowed down. Vayishtachavu, they bowed down. One of my favorite verbs, and I'll say why, is because I think that's exactly the same thing that's happening in the Tetragrammaton when you have apocryphy of the last hey, and you have ya with a hey here and vowel that I believe is segol. When it drops, you're left with ya v, and this reverts to a vowel, and the syllables are retained. Yahu. So Eliyahu and Hallelu. They don't say hallelujah at Yahu, but Yahu is a form of the name that exists in Elephantine Hebrew and all over the place in inscriptions. So anyway, that's why I like it, because I think it explains the name well. Let's look at oath formulae. Formulae is the plural of Latin formula. Okay, Psalm 95:11. Colton, might you read this?
Sure.
And when you
I
do,
should.
maybe you bring up where else this is said, or where else this is quoted.
Okay. אשר נשבעתי באפי אם יבואון אל מנוחתי. Yeah, nuchati. Sorry, yeah.
So the asher here is temporal. It's saying when.
Mm-hmm.
What's it mean? Asher nishbati ve'api.
Oh yeah. When sorry, yeah. When I swore with my mouth.
Not my mouth, not P, but api. My anger.
Oh, in my anger.
My nose.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
When I swore in my anger.
They would not go to, that they would not enter my rest. Sorry.
Yeah. This is quoted 4 times in the New Testament. Do you remember what book?
I wouldn't. Hebrews is what comes to mind, but I don't know.
Yes, it's in the book Hebrews, the letter to the Hebrews.
Yeah. Chapter
It quotes it
4?
in Greek. Chapter 3, chapter 4, I think it's twice in chapter 3. It's like 3 or 4 times in the book.
Yeah.
In the Septuagint, it reads this: Hos homosa in theorgemu, eseliusontai estin katapausimu. Okay, so as I swore, host can also mean when. As or when I swore in my anger, if they will enter into my rest. If they will enter into my rest. It quotes it in the New Testament exactly like that. There is a guy who's become quite popular and noisy on the internet who's claiming that the Septuagint is the original text of the Bible, the Hebrew Bible, and that the Hebrew is a translation. This is an impossibility. There is no oath formula in Greek that says, if they will enter into my rest.
Yeah, right. Yeah, keep going. Yeah, you're good.
But in Hebrew, that is the structure. This is what is assumed whenever you
okay, I was going to see if you use this construction as well, because I think this is the other construction that flies in the face of that argument.
Yeah. So one, we're going to use ki, and another one we're going to use im. Okay, so ki is with positive, and im is with negative. Okay, so let's look at this. This says, there are more explanations in the book, by the way. Vayomer Shaul. So Saul said, Ko ya'aseh Elohim v'chol yosif ki mot tamut Yonatan. Okay, so he's saying this is going to happen. Thus shall God do and thus add that Jonathan will surely die. In other words, he's saying, for certain it is, I swear that God will make it happen, that Jonathan will die. Okay, this is not nice. When I say positive, I don't mean it's a good thing. I mean that he's saying it will happen. But when it's negative, this is another example from 1 Samuel 3:14. V'lachen nishbati leveit Eli im. We're supposed to assume all of this expression. Thus shall God do and thus add, im yitkaper avon beit Eli bezevach uvemincha ad olam. Okay, thus shall God do and thus shall he add, if the guilt of the house of Eli is atoned for with sacrifice and offering forever. Meaning the guilt of Eli's household will never be atoned for. So when it says im, if, it means not. So this doesn't mean if. This means they will not enter into my rest. It's an oath. I swore in my anger, they shall not enter my rest. Better translation in Greek would have been ume. They shall certainly not enter. So it's a good evidence that the Septuagint is not the original text, because it's not natural Greek to give an oath formula like that. Anyway, oath formulas in Hebrew may feel a little weird, because suddenly you start a sentence with if, and there's no apodosis, there's no continuous, if this happens, what happens? There's no what, right? It's missing almost all the time. Oath formulae might start with Chai Adonai or Chai Adonai, Chai Ani or Anochi. It can be by the life of someone, but it generally will have this im for a negative. And the way that Josh Bowen describes it, like I heard him say it the other day, is you could insert here, all be damned. All be damned if this happens.
Yeah. There's like, I don't remember where it is. There's a specific place that pulls the actual phrase, like if Well, and it's like that has both. If he does, you know, if this thing happens, the eam is used because it's like verb gap. It's an ellipsis essentially, right?
Yeah.
If this thing happens and it's taking all that, whatever the thing is, and it's just putting that eam at the beginning of that, and then it's just assuming the thus may the Lord add to me, right?
Yeah.
This part that we have in 1 Samuel 14 here, but there's specific places where it has it explicitly laid out, but it's not the regular to have it all there. But yeah. Sorry, make that make sense for people. I don't feel like I said that well.
That you should always try to add in the idea that's been left out. It's left out because people know that it's there already.
Yeah. But there are places in the text that have the eam, and that have the eam in there with the full condition laid out. That's what I was trying to get across.
It's not as common. So let's look at this one in Hebrews. Interest. Just so we can look at the Greek. I don't know those of us who's interested in Greek at all, or the New Testament and what, but I got my entry into Hebrew by first learning Greek. So this is where it starts. Hebrews chapter 3. I declared on oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest. And he says it again, to whom did God swear that they would never enter his rest? Therefore, since the promise of entering his rest still stands, now we who have believed enter that rest. So I declared on oath in my anger, they shall never enter my rest. They shall never enter my rest. It's repeated again and again in the book, the Epistle to the Hebrews. So if we look in that first one, Hebrews chapter 3, verse 11, we can compare the SBLGNT. We can compare the Greek and look at it real quick. So again, this is quoting what came to be called the Septuagint. Hos homosain theorgemu. It's exactly the same as what I read. If they will enter into my rest, and you can see that the NIV states, they shall never enter my rest. And it comes from Psalm 95, which is what we showed you. So I don't know if the text is really small there. Maybe should have made it bigger for those who are interested in the Greek. Yep, there you go.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you were going to point out the mut tamut as another example of why saying that the LXX is the original text is silly, because of the way that gets translated.
That one was brought up by Kip already, Kip Davis, because it makes no sense to say they shall die the death.
Yep.
In Greek.
Yeah. Okay. I thought that's what you're going to do with it here, though, too, just to make your point. But it just happened to be.
These are expressions in Hebrew with the infinitive absolute. Mot tamut. You shall surely die, Jonathan. Mot tamut.
Mm-hmm.
But it is not. It's not natural to Greek.
Yeah. They come across as they're idioms. They're, for lack of a better word, they're idioms, right? That the Septuagint translators do what we call calc, which is like a word for word thing. Instead of translating it in what makes the most sense in Greek, they calc it from the Hebrew exactly and give it a word to word correspondence, because I don't know what their intention was, but because I would assume because they want that.
They wanted to stay as faithful to the Hebrew as possible.
Yeah. They wanted that nature of it to come through. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you remember the name of that guy that is claimed that the Hebrew Bible was originally written in Greek? The Septuagint is the original.
I know, like you said, I watched Kip's video about it, and so you could probably go find out who it is on Kip. I can't remember his name off.
The guy got his degree in ancient pharmacology and drug use, And so he claims like all kinds of weird stuff, like Jesus was using drugs in the Garden of Gethsemane, and like I don't know, he's really crazy. If you watch him, he's just you can just see that he's insane. But he reads Greek out loud on his channel, and you just watch it, and you're like, no, like he's translating it wrong, you know. But he's just importing such strange ideas into the text.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can't just quickly find the name of the guy.
It's okay. I really want to forget. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
There are people that aren't worth remembering. Okay, so I'm judgmental. I don't mean to be, but you know, it comes with the nature of the type of person I am. So this verb lachasot we see in the prophets as Jose Badonai or Jose Adonai, those who wait on the Lord or seek refuge. Excuse me. It's not seeking refuge. It's not waiting. It's seeking refuge, but it's because you're waiting for His help. Ityatzev is to stand, to take a stand. We have an adjective yatziv that we've derived from this. Yatziv meaning stable because it stands. It's stable. Nichad. We tend, whenever we have the chaf and the chet up against each other like this, to harden the kaf, even if it's not written. Nichad. This isn't really used in modern Hebrew, as far as I'm aware, but we do use the verb, I'll write it on the screen, for denying something is this. And you want to say machrish. Nobody will say that. Everyone will say makrish, as if this were hard. Makrish. Makrish is to deny. Kichad or kiched, to hide something in the PL. And ichid, to hide something again. I don't see why these verbs are so necessary to know. Nikar is to be recognized. Nikar, it also is the opposite. It can be like, I think it's to disguise yourself or something like that, like trying not to be recognized. Hikir, this is very important, this verb, hikir. This is to recognize or to know. If we have a division in knowing, like in Spanish, where you have saber and you have conocer. Saber is to know, like you know a fact and you know something, and conocer is to have a knowledge of it, like it's more intimate, personal. You know someone or you know something well. Yo conozco la ciudad. I know the city, like because I have an intimate association with it. So this distinction exists in Spanish. It exists in, I believe, in French. It exists in Latin. So skio is I know, like you know fact, you know knowledge. But how do you say in Latin? I know. There's a cognate. There's not a cognate because it's actually the mother of the word. But there's a related word to conocer. So in Hebrew we have lehakir is to know, like you know someone. You have an intimate knowledge of someone, and lada'at is to know a fact. But there is a way in which you can also use lada'at of people. Because in, like, for example, Jeremiah chapter 31, where it says the new covenant, no longer will a man say to his neighbor or a man to his fellow saying, know the Lord, da et Adonai, know the Lord, for they will all know me, from the least of them to the greatest, right? Da et Adonai, know the Lord with lada'at. That's interesting. What do you make of that, Colton? What do you think of that? Are you still with me? I'm thinking to myself.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, hikir. It's like the foreigner word, right? Nakir, like the foreigner.
Nochri.
Right, nochri, right. But sorry, I was thinking that. But yeah, it's like that word, like, yeah. That's how I associate it is with that root. A foreigner is somebody you don't recognize, or you don't know, maybe, or you know them to be a foreigner. I don't know how you get there, but nacher, like, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I want to look at the New Covenant passage because I think it's a good one.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah.
It'll be a while before I get there, but I'll get there soon
What's
enough.
that?
I said it'll be a while before I get there in Jeremiah, but I'll get there soon enough.
Well, verse 31 here, this is chapter 31, verse 31. Hine yamim ba'im le'um Adonai, v'charati et beit Yisrael ve'et beit Yehuda brit chadasha. So behold, the days are coming, says the Lord, when I will make a covenant, a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. לא חברית אשר קראתי את אבותם ביום החזיקי בידם להוציאם מארץ מצרים, אשר המה הפרו את בריתי, ואנוכי בעלתי בם, נאום אדוני. Not like the covenant which I made with their fathers on the day I took hold of their hands to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which they broke my covenant, and though I was husbandman to them, I was their husband, the oracle of God. כי זאת הברית אשר אכרות את בית ישראל אחרי הימים ההם, נאום אדוני. Okay, so he says, this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, the oracle of God. Notice, natati is the katal. This is one of the original katal forms, like the future katal. Natati et torati b'kirbam, I will put my Torah in their midst. V'alibam echtavena, I will write it upon their heart. V'hayiti lahem le'elohim, and I will be God to them. V'hema iyu li la'am, and they will be people to me. They'll be my people. V'lo yilamedu od ish et re'ehu v'ish et achiv le'mor. No longer will a man teach his neighbor and a man his brother, saying, De'u et Adonai, know the Lord. Ki chulam yedu'oti, they will all know me with lada'at. They will all know me. Lemikatanam vad dolam num Adonai, ki eslach le'avonam u'lechatatam lo eskor od. So because I'll forgive their iniquity and I will no longer remember
the least and the greatest. The least unto the greatest. Yeah.
They will all know me from the least to the greatest. Yeah. Yep, that is the 31st chapter of Jeremiah, part of it. What I like about this coverage of this text is that you really can, I think, dive into larger sections of Hebrew if you've been following along in the reading of the book. I think it's a beneficial text.
Yeah. So I found that guy's name, though. Amon Hillman.
Oh my God, my blood just boiled.
Yeah. Also, I found an example of
his insanity.
I have a quote from I have a description from the YouTube description of somebody who interviewed him. But no, I was talking about 2 Kings 6:31 of having may the Lord do this to me and more if this thing is the case, like together in one verse, an explicit where they're together.
6:31.
Yeah, so it's in the chat too, but yeah.
ויאמר כה יעשה לי אלוהים וכל יוסיף אם יעמוד ראש אלישע בן שפט עליו. Yeah.
Yeah. So that whole first phrase.
God do to me, and thus shall he add, or may he add, if the head of Elisha, the son of Shaphat, remain upon him today.
Yeah.
In other words, his head will not remain upon
Yeah.
him. He will
So-
die.
Yeah. So anytime that you see the eam, you should assume that whole first phrase if it's
Make
an oath
do to
formula
me and
and more.
Yeah.
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 Good thing. So
yeah.
Nitzav
So his-
is standing. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
Nope, I'm done. I was moving on to the next word. So
Yeah.
what do you
Yeah.
think?
No. I thought you were done with the vocab. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, there's more. Nitzav is standing, like omdim, nitzavim, standing. It's used in modern Hebrew for when you're talking about actors. It's someone who's standing there, not speaking. They are extras. We call them standing. Kilel, lekalel is to curse in Hebrew. A curse is a klala. Sava is to be satisfied. Savati, I'm full. I'm satisfied. I have been satiated. Lisboa. Hisbia, masbia is to satisfy someone. God, masbia, kol chai. God makes everything, he gives satisfaction to everything that lives. Nishba, notice this is shin, whereas the last one was sin. Nishba in the nifal means to swear. There is no kal, so this is not a passive. It's not passive. Nishba is nishbati, I swear, I have sworn. Lehishava or lehishavea, to swear. I wanted to add these verbs because it's a nice cluster that was not added in the book, but le'evol or aval means to grieve or to mourn. He'evil, in the hifil, ha'avil is to cause someone to mourn, to put someone into mourning. And abel is to observe the morning rituals, like you're going through the process of mourning. And the noun for mourning is evel. Evel. There's also an adjective like a stative participle, avel. Avel. And then next week we're continuing with David's story in the second chapter of 2 Samuel, I believe. I didn't check that. That's what I believe we're going on to. And we're going to be going through the geminate roots. This is something that Luke was asking about. We're going to skip 26 as far as the homework review and go straight into 27. Because of that, if we have any extra time right now, we don't really. We've got a couple of minutes. Maybe we could look at one of the readings of 26, if that's something you want to do.
I got time.
26 must have some Hebrew text, so let's see, 26.
We can do a few verses.
It says Genesis chapter 32. So let's jump on to Genesis 32, and this will be in place of Thursday's meeting. Genesis 32. It would want us to read through the entire chapter. That was Hebrew, wasn't it? English, Genesis 32. Okay. You want to take a stab at this? Vayashkem.
Sure. וישכם לבן בבוקר, וינשק לבניו ולבנותיו, ויברך
Where's the
אתהם.
stress on that?
ויברך אתהם. וילך וישוב לבן למקומו. And Laban got up in the morning and
early. The Vayashkem is early specifically.
Yeah, got up early in the morning. What's Peel Nashak?
It's like same as Linshok. Linashik.
What's Nashak? Okay, and he kissed his sons and his daughters, and he blessed them. And he went, and and Laban returned to his place, to his home.
Something strange about ethem, right? What's the normal form?
Otam.
Otam.
Mm-hmm.
Hillman was recently investigated by the Vatican for demon possession, portal opening. What could you
That
do?
was the description from the YouTube channel. Yeah.
Oh, that's just weird. All right, verse 2. He's such a strange person. V'Yaakov alach l'darko. Jacob went on his way. Vayifkeu bo malachei Elohim. And angels of God met him. They came upon him. They met him. Okay, verse 3.
Sorry. Vayomer Yaakov kasher ra'am machane Elohim ze vayikra shem hamakom hahu machanaim.
That's interesting.
And Jacob said, as he saw them,
Ra'am ra'au otam. Saw them.
the camp of God is the camp of God.
Yeah, this is the camp of God.
Yeah, and he called the name of that place Machanaim, or two camps.
Two camps. I think it's interesting that he called it two camps and then he divided his family up into two camps.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Verse 4. Vayishlach Yaakov. Verse 4. Vayishlach Yaakov malachim lefanav. So it's funny that the angels of God met him, and now he sends malachim in front of him. Is he sending angels or messengers? Why did it say that angels met him? And there's nothing to do with angels at this point. Jacob sent messengers or angels before him. El Esav Achiv, to Esau, his brother, Arza Seir Sdei Edom, to the land of Seir, the field or the fields of Edom. By the way, according to people who trace these things, they say that Adonai as a deity has origins in Seir.
Interesting. Vaitzav otam lemor ko tomrun l'Adonai le'esav ko omar avdecha Yaakov im Lavan garti ve'echar ad ata. Adata. And he commanded them, saying, thus you shall say to Esau, my Lord, thus said your servant Jacob, with Laban I have sojourned, and
they say that this also means it's like living,
and lived until now.
Va'e'echal becomes va'echal. If you want to look it up in the Tal, it's to linger,
Okay.
parallel with living.
God, yeah.
Why adata? My Hebrew professor, when I was first learning Hebrew, actually was writing a research paper on this, if I can remember correctly, and he said that he surmises that ata was originally et, and that the hey on the end was probably like a definite article or an accusative case. Something like we say yom and hayom.
Yeah, what if it was like it in like a locative, like a until, like a point that you're trying to reach, right?
Well, he would say, he wanted to say that it was something like Yom means day and Hayom, the day, means this day, today. And so it means time, and Ata is this time, which means now.
I like it.
Yeah. It appeals to me, but I'm not sure. Let's go one more verse and then we'll cut over to modern Hebrew. So verse 6, Vayihili shor v'chamor, son ve'eved v'shivcha, va'eshlecha, that's kind of funny, la'agid la'adoni, limsochen be'enecha. Okay, so in other words, I have come to possess. right? It has come to me. Hi, kitty. I have come to possess ox and donkey, flock and slave and maidservant, that I might send to tell my Lord to find favor in your eyes. Okay, so he's, I don't know if he's offering them to Esau, but the idea is that he wants the things that he has to maybe please him so he doesn't kill him, right? Because he's afraid that his brother's going to kill him. With that, we end this session. I feel we accomplished a lot. Hitpael is easier than I could have expected.
Yeah, it's nice because it's really hard to confuse them most of the time with anything else.
And they are rarer than the other Binyan in biblical Hebrew. In modern Hebrew, you're going to find that it's much more useful than you ever would have imagined. All right, everybody, we love you. Thank you so much. Please come and sign up for Patreon and buy me a coffee or something. And we'll see you guys not on Thursday, but next Monday. Take care and be well. I got to keep my cat from climbing in places she's not supposed to be. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.